بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. It was a habit that on a Monday night we were speaking about the ahadith of the kitab called Mishkatul Masabih. We were discussing Kitabul Fitan, and in Kitabul Fitan a chapter which is known as Ashratus Sa'ah, the signs of the hour. At the end of this chapter, of the second chapter, it comes into Al-Faslul Awwal, then you get Al-Faslul Thani. So in the end of Al-Faslul Thani, two hadiths we will speak about now. In one narration, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions that Almighty Allah will continue bringing trials upon this ummah. Yusibu hadhihi al-ummah bala. So many trials and difficulties will come on this ummah. Hatta la yajida ar-rajulu malja'an yalja'u ilayhi min al-zulmi. Until a time will come when an individual will find there is no place for him to run from oppression. Hatta la yajida ar-rajulu malja'an yalja'u ilayhi min al-zulmi. Remember, the haram is known as baladan amina. That in the haram, even if a person is supposed to be caught for killing somebody else and he ran into the haram, there's so much of ikhtilaf, can you pull him out from the haram? So even the haram was the place of aman. But the time would come that in the haram itself there would be the least aman. La yajid ar-rajulu malja'an yalja'u ilayhi min al-zulmi. That a man will know the oppressor is after him, and he will have no place. There will be no balad and amina. The zalim, he can go wherever he wants. But the one who speaks against zulm, he will be targeted. If he has to run, he will really have to run. Sa'id bin Musayyib, rahimullah, when Hajjaj bin Yusuf called for him. So it's mentioned in Fazail Sadaqat most likely, or Fazail Amal. Like when they finally killed him, then Hajjaj was amazed at the amount of blood that was coming out. So much of blood. And they asked somebody, how much bleeding? He says, normally a person doesn't bleed so much. Because as soon as you get gripped with fear, your body already starts. But he was so calm to die that his body was just letting blood come out. So hardly you see that. We understood that way when animal was slaughtered in front of us. And like, you can see the difference between an animal that's slaughtered fast and an animal that is slaughtered after a little worry. How it holds its blood. To see an individual who just bleeds. So at that time also it was the same thing, that when the zalim would call and the person would get gripped with fear, before the hour will come, then the end of the narration will come until Allah Tabarak Ta'ala will then open up and the Mahdi will come. So the understanding of this hadith is based on the seer, that Allah Tabarak Ta'ala has made the world in seasons. So before every spring there has to be an autumn and a winter. When the autumn has to come, things will dry up. In a very bad manner it dries up. Everything becomes yellow. There's no life on earth. Animals die. And then when winters come, it becomes very cold. Some go away. Some hibernate. But all of them, when they go, they understand that summer, spring is going to come. It's just that I have to wait for it for a few more days. No one loses heart. That animal who loses heart, he dies. He understands the rains are never going to come. So he doesn't pull that last few days. As for the ants, they hibernate. Many animals hibernate. They say instead of staying awake and looking, why is it not coming, they sleep. Say when our eyes will open, it's going to happen. But what they do before they hibernate, they store. They take a lot of provisions and they keep it with them, so that when the time comes of difficulty, I'm not lost. I know I got a few months to play. So similarly, when these ahadith came of fitan, one message that the world was given is, when it was said that when the Mahdi will come, then Allah will open the skies, which means that before that day there will be droughts, quite severe droughts. And Allah will open the vegetation, which means before that there will be a lot of loss in the market. So when all of that is seen, and we all say, I'm waiting for the era of the Mahdi, and we think it's around the corner, but you must understand, before that corner comes, there will be some difficulties. So when even the ant understands that difficulty has to come before spring. Before spring you have to have autumn and winter. So the person starts preparing from beginning. How he must prepare, his mind will teach him, like what preparations. One is your preparation of the mind. That you must be ready that the world will never be how it's moving until today. That everything like paradise. That every day is one day better than the last. There'll be no exams, there'll be no tests. Business will always be good. Every year I'll go for Umrah, I'll go for Hajj. Those people who are living in an automatic world, when just COVID came, one COVID, and COVID is not the release of the beginning of the worst of fitan. It's still going to start. But when one COVID came, how many businesses crashed? How many people went in depression? The reason there was no hibernating, there was no preparing, the mind was not ready. So Almighty Allah keeps it as it's a preparation for something bigger. The world, especially the people of knowledge, they themselves must understand, because when you go now out, you might find the error where your own congregation, they will see the error of fitan. Fitan means trials. During trials, the devil makes a person despondent in the hope that Allah will save him. If the alim himself got no answer for the person, how is he going to pull him out? If someone is drowning, even if you know how to swim, it doesn't mean you'll save that person. You have to know how to save a drowning person. Again, if someone is drowning, even if you know how to swim, you cannot save the drowning person until you know how to save a drowning person. Lot of times a person jumped in the water, he knew how to swim. But because he was busy helping that person, that current then took him also. He also went. When the trials and errors will come, you yourself have to know how to swim through it. You will have to already know how to help somebody else swim through it. So the mind must already start preparing, that when my Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned so many times, he would speak about that fitan. Then he will say, then فَيَبْعَثُ اللَّهُ رَجُلًا, then Allah will send a man. When those trials and fitan comes, the ummah has to be given courage, himmat, that is just around the corner. All you have to do is be ready for it. When autumn and winter will come, normally the farmer, he starts planting his seeds also. He starts getting his seeds ready. We were in that one place and the rains were stalled. One shop I went to, that man, he said, because every masjid they were making dua, Allahumma aghithna, aghithna, aghithna. So the one shop I went to, he told me, I'm the only one who doesn't say Ameen to that. I asked him what you mean. He says, I sell those things that when the farmers don't get rain, they have to buy from me. That's something, I don't know whatever it is, because now it's an alternate to what the animal is supposed to eat. So he's selling the feed. So he says, when the Imam Sahib is making that aghithna, aghithna, I say, Allah Pak, not just now, but few more weeks. Let's say I had a top time, because it was delayed. So I was looking at that there, I said, how that thing is. Then we went past the one farm, and I saw all the workers were on the farm. So someone said to me that the farmers already understood now that the rains are coming in the next week. While we were there, the rains came. So what they do is, before the rains come, you start putting the seeds. Because say, once the rains come, you cannot work on the land. Then it's just rain after that. So when I was looking at that day, how they were working on putting the seeds, the thought went to my mind when they were putting the seeds. They're putting the seeds before the rain. So the rain is our spring. The rain is our summer, what we're waiting for. But the seed that is planted in that winter. So in the era of trials, Salahuddin Ayyubi is born. He is not born in spring. He has to be born when there is a problem. So if we're going to ever see the era of the Mahdi, it means before that we would also see that era of winter. And in winter, whoever plants his seed, he will find he's the flower in the next era. So whenever trials and tribulations come, a person should be taught, the ummah should be taught, we should be taught, this is the time of dua. This is the time of preparation. This is the time of change of heart and mind. And then we go, and then if you see that summer, you will be the next flower. So that was one narration. And the final narration of the hadith, which was the one we were going to discuss. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "La taqumu as-sa'a." The hour will not be established hatta, until. Imam Tirmidhi rahimahullah narrates this hadith with a strong sanad. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Hatta tukallima as-siba'u al-ins." Until wild animals will start speaking to man. Until wild animals will start speaking to man. وَحَتَّى تُكَلِّمَ الرَّجُلَ عَذَبَةُ صَوْتِهِ وَشِرَاكُ نَعْلِهِ. And when the tip of the stick and when shoelace will be speaking to man. وَحَتَّى يُخْبِرَ الرَّجُلَ فَخِذُهُ بِمَا أَحْدَثَ أَهْلُهُ بَعْدَهُ. And when the thigh of man will be informing man of what his family is doing in his absence. So this narration is a very unique narration in the chapter of Ashratu Sa'a. Because everything about it is like unique, beyond understanding. How does the wild animal speak to man on a big scale? And everyone is like normal. And how does the tip of the stick, one is a karamat, one is a miracle, but here it's like general, everyone's stick is speaking. Everyone's stick. Imagine, Ustad hits you, the stick says harder. Everyone's stick, but then it's normal, no one gets shocked like. Tip of the stick. And then the shoelace. And then the thigh of man informing the person what your family is going to do. And the words of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will show itself in different eras. So we already saw one era, but this hadith has become very apparent. And we are definitely going to see another era where it will become even more apparent. And then we don't know if something else will happen where it will become even more. But what it means that since we are already seeing the explanation of this narration, we're not far from the end. The world in the past, when they narrated this year, they never saw any explanation of it. We saw an example or an explanation. And we will see again another one in the next few years, even bigger. The one we saw is what was called the beginning of the technology of the world. We saw wild animals but on television. We saw the time when the wild animals were cartoons. But it was a wild animal speaking. Then we saw those times where the movies made, the cartoon came to an end. It was a real movie. And in the real movie, it was a real lion. So the lion was moving, but there was someone behind the lion talking. We saw that also. And in the next few years, we will see not on the TV. We will see in front of us. You will see dinosaurs. You will see other animals. Some of them will be wild birds. That's why as-siba'. They explain it could be siba'u tayr or siba'u al-hayawan. Wild animals like lions or tigers or something wild. Dinosaurs are wild. Or it could be wild birds. They have already explained, we're going to see it in the next few years. But it won't be an animal itself. It will be a robot. But it will be such or so close to the living animal that they themselves have mentioned when people will go to zoos, they will no longer go to the zoo to see lions and tigers. They will now go to see Jurassic Park. They will go to see dinosaurs. And those dinosaurs will speak to the people. So we will see that second explanation of this narration. We don't know if a third will come, which will be even bigger, but we are not far from the end. We are seeing it. When we will see it, we shouldn't be like the rest who says, wow. We will say, وَصَدَقَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The people of knowledge. Then behind it we will see there's a fitna. There's a trial. For us it don't look so amazing, like how far they reached. We will say how close we are to the ending. Then we saw the explanation how the tip of the stick speaks. عَذَبَةُ صَوْتِهِ. Tip of the stick. One explanation we saw was what is called our flash disks. You just put it in the computer, it's a tip. And then the bayan starts, the lecture starts, music starts. But we will see now, in the next 5 years there will be so much of burst. That what's going to happen, what's going to be speaking, the whole thing is going to change. Like your car is going to speaking to you. You just sit in the car, that will start its talk. Books might speak. They'll give their bayan. The child will not have to read, open the book will tell its own story. Dolls will be speaking. Because once it hits the market, it hits left, right and center. So the normal stick speaking, the blind man, his stick will say to him, turn right, turn left. Tip of his stick. We will see it in big manners, but we saw the beginning of it. And we are going to see another. Again, when we will see it, again we will not say technology is so far. Say how close we are to the ending. وَصَدَقَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Shoelace will speak. We saw one explanation of it. We call it that wire. The cable for all technology. You put the cable here, and then you put it in there, and the whole bayan is transferred. We saw the shoelace speaking where the person put the mic here, and now his voice became louder. Now that whole sound is going through that wire. And the woman on the other side, they're hearing his voice because it went through the wire. Shoelace that was. In the past they only had lace. Today we call it wire. But we will see others. Until a time will come, you might even see directly the shoelace. The child shoelace will be saying, tie me up, tie me up. And you see that again, we won't say wow, we will say how close we are to the ending. And then until the time will come when the tie of a person will inform him of what his family is doing. So we already saw one example of that. We called it the phone. Because the place of keeping the phone was going to be by the tie. The person kept it there. Don't know why they keep it there. The madrasa students keep it in other places. Funny places also. Very funny places also. Nowadays we stopped going for searches, body searches, because after we found it at certain places on the body, it became like you were so close to the real thing. So he said, no more searching. They're like, where they put it? So what's valuable in your life, you put it what's valuable in your body. But the normal place is by the thigh. But we don't know if it will end there. We might see something else happening. Because the phone, the watch is talking. Later on something else could be there. As we will see it, that person whose ilm will allow him to say, وَصَدَقَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will see a lot of other things also. That this is not the burst of technology. He will say this is the beginning of the end. When COVID will reach its end, perhaps in the next 1 or 2 years, which it will reach, then our president and all the presidents will announce, we won, we beat COVID, we came out alive. Everyone followed protocol, thank you so much, whereas nobody followed protocol. The guys in the taxi will hoot, where, they never followed at all. They'll also say, party, at least we did our job. No one did their job. But the president will say, well done, because everyone vaccinated, whereas we know 3/4 never vaccinate. They're all buying the certificate. They say, but because you're vaccinated, well done. All that will happen. So everyone will get happy. Our emotions are worked with the media. Everyone will get happy and say, we won, we came out of it. This is the end. This will be the beginning. It's normally when you relax, that's when the devil attacks. Just when you relax. So majority of the world would be now in a relaxed mood. What happens when you're in a relaxed mood? The first thing is like after exams. There was one exam we wrote in madrasa, one time, because the term wasn't working out. After imtihan, we had 1 day to sleep, and then we had 1 month of sabak. Then the holidays was coming. That was like the hardest month, not for the student, only even for the teachers. Because everyone was not interested. Like after imtihan, you just want holiday. So when the world will be tied, everything will be restriction. Again it opens, again it closes, again it opens, again it closes. And then finally they say, we won now. As soon as they say we won, you'll see all the flights will become cheap. And everyone will start packing their bags and say, let's just go for a holiday. And when they will land up in those places, they will see like different venues, amazing venues. And it will be like a person came out of a cage. When you let loose from a cage, you go wild. So the one whose ilm was guiding him from before, he is already understanding that this is the beginning of the end. He will not run wild. Rather, he'll himself warn his family, take it easy. And he'll warn others also, don't run. This is not the time to run. Step slowly, because there could be a bomb under your feet. Why you must blow? Take it easy. This is the last hadith of Slefani in the chapter of Ashratu Sa'ah. The hour will not be established until the wild animals will be speaking, birds and whatever it is. We'll see that time. We will be the ones who will say, وَصَدَقَ Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tell people that this was mentioned. And then we will see it, gadgets talking in a big manner. And then we will see the Thai informing man what's happening. We already saw, but we will see it bigger. Because technology is not going to stop now in the next few years. It's going to reach its peak. We will not be amazed at it. We will see. Wherever it's reaching, on top of it, if you look a little higher, you'll see one eye. Then you want to see the devil, you'll say, I saw you. When we were coming back now in the aeroplane, we had to fill in the health forms. So in the past, they were writing 2030, but they were writing it small. People couldn't see. Now they're writing it big. On the top of the health form, they got the 2030. So I'm saying, how many people must be looking at this 2030? But no one's mind will make them think like, what the health form got to do with 2030? That we are in the year 20 what? Not 2030. So you're supposed to put this year's date. You don't put 2030's date. First, the beginning they wrote it small, no one saw it. Went bigger, it's going bigger. They're making it so known that this word 2030 will be written in everyone's mind. That this is my goal. I must not die before 2030. I must reach it. From the beginning, you plant your seeds. We will see, or we are seeing a winter already. The one whose seed is planted, when the spring will come, his tree will go very high. The one who's just waiting for winter to end to jump into spring, he will jump without any roots. Allah Tabarak protect us all from all fitan. Allah's Nabi mentioned Ashratu Sa'ah, the signs of the hour, not just as a storytelling, neither just to make people scared. It was called to make you alert. That you be the one who treads very nicely and you take the ummah with you very nicely. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.